This movie covers the new 3D geometric environments in Alias 2012. I'll start by looking at 4 new library environments. These are called geometric because instead of simply putting a static two-dimensional image behind the model, they create 3D geometry, either as a cylinder or a dome shape. And this has the special characteristic that when you view it, you don't see the outside, you only see the inside. So when an image is mapped around this geometry, you'll always see an environment in the background which stays in a realistic relationship to your model, regardless of where you view it from. Here I have my visualization control panel open, so I can simply drag one of the new environments onto my resident shaders. And I now get this environment, which gives me a full 360-degree scene of this dockside image, which appears around my model, giving me complete freedom to view the design in a context. And if I zoom further out, you can see that the image is on a cylinder, and you can see this effect of not viewing the exterior of the cylinder geometry, only ever the inside. And if I double-click to open my environment shader, you can see that the image is applied through the background section as a color map. And clicking on the arrow takes me to the settings for the new geometric environment, where the cylinder is specified and the source texture, here, which is just a simple PNG, JPEG or TIFF file. Going back to the geometric environment settings, here I have the controls for the 3D placement of the environment geometry. And I can rotate it, or adjust the scale to match the scene to the size of the design, and I can change the vertical position of the cylinder. Or just use this Auto button, which automatically positions it on the lowest part of the model. Now if I zoom in, you can see that my car has reflections of the scene. You can clearly see the cranes in the windscreen. This effect isn't part of the new geometric environment, but the 4 new library environments have all been supplied with matching HDR images to provide the image-based lighting and reflections, and these are controlled separately from the background. And the ground plane shadows are also separate from the geometric environment, so I can adjust those independently. In the library you also have a desert road scene, which is again cylindrical. As is the night plaza scene. And finally there's the gypsum crater scene, which is the only one that uses the dome shape. And this is a good example of why the reflections are separate from the background. If the effect of the crater floor is too strong, then you can simply choose a different HDR reflection map to give you separate control over the reflection effects in your scene. If the library scenes aren't right for your designs, then you can create your own geometric environment. You can work from the visualization panel just by double-clicking on the environment shader. Or you can click on Edit Environment in the Hardware Shade window. But I like to use the original Multilister interface because it gives a very clear view of the 3 stages involved. First, I double-click on the environment and choose a background color map, which leads to the Geometric Texture window. Here I control the 3D projection, either a cylinder or a dome, and the position and the scaling. Then I can map the source texture, where I can load a 2D image file in a JPEG, TIFF or PNG format. On this yacht model, I'll use the Multilister, and if I double-click on the environment shader, I can do a background color map. This gives me the texture window, and here I can choose the new geometric environment. And this creates the second node in the Multilister. Now I map again to get my source texture, and this time I'll use a simple 2D file texture, which creates the third node in the multilister. And finally I can browse for my own image. And note that it's just a JPEG image, not an HDR. And this is just one that I downloaded from the Alias community website. So now we can finally see the image in the environment. And if I go back to the geometric node, I can choose the geometry shape I want, either a dome or a cylinder. And really it's whichever gives me the best result. Now previously I used these sliders to change the scale and position of the texture. But this time I want more control, so I'll turn on the texture placement icon, which will appear at the origin as a green sphere. It can be difficult to see and select, and you may need to use the Show button on your view window to check the visibility of textures to make sure that you can see it. Once picked, I have full control to move the texture in any of the axes, not just the height. And I can scale it and rotate it in any axis, just like any other object. And once I've finished manipulating the texture, I'll turn the texture icon off so that I can't accidentally select it. Now if I have a look at this horizon, you can see that the image wraps up and around the outer edge. But as with all 2D textures, I have further control of the 2D image placement in the File Texture window. And here I can access all the normal texture placement controls to fine-tune the position of the image on the 3D geometric environment. If I now zoom in, you can see that I don't have any reflections. So I need to go back now to the image-based lighting settings and find a matching HDR image. And here I'll turn on the ambient occlusion as well to soften the image. So that's how to create your own geometric environments. And finally, if you need to delete the geometric texture, just select it in the multilister and choose Delete Active. So the geometric texture is applied like any other environment texture and can be fully controlled using the multilister and the texture placement icon. For quick access through the control panel, you can use the sliders to position the texture and set up new images. And for maximum speed, there are 4 new library environments which have been provided with matching background and reflection images.